is good, YouTube? It's Queenway Basketball Analysis coming to it. A quick video. We're gonna do knockout is what to expect on the Milwaukee Bucks. This is a team over the course of years. They was in the playoffs. They missed it last year. This season that just passed, they made it again. They was 500 when they had Brandon Knight. They traded Brandon Knight in the middle of the season because they didn't want to pay him an extension. Next thing you know, they get Michael Carter-Williams. They bottom out. And this year they have a team without Michael Carter-Williams, but they drafted a good pick in Malcolm Brogdon. He paid dividends, winning Rookie of the Year. You have players like Chris Middleton that wasn't healthy when the season started, but he was able to get healthy in the middle of the season. That helped catapult them into a win streak at the last couple months, and that was enough to get them a playoff spot. And they clinched it real early because they was able to win majority of their games, and that helped them. You know, they wasn't in the playoffs. And when I did the February deadline, they wasn't in the playoffs. They was able to make a clean run and get back into that playoff race, and they was able to clinch the 6th seed. So that's impressive. I live in Wisconsin. I was born in Milwaukee. I just moved out a couple years ago, but I only live 5 minutes from Milwaukee. So with that being said, it's funny that how quick this team has turned. The organization, I gotta give them credit because they got new owners. The owners back then, they was satisfied with being mediocre. They make a trade, get a star player, and they don't even care about enough to make a playoff team. If they good enough to make the playoffs, that's all they care about. They was happy being the 7th and the 8th seed with this roster. And now I'm starting to see the vision. Now I'm starting to see the future when you have all these players in their 20s and they all athletic and long. You got a young coach and Jason Kidd that's only in his 40s. He made the playoffs twice with this roster already. And now it's time for them to live up to expectations. They starting to get better. They starting to gel. They starting to put pieces. They getting deeper in the bench. But now it's time to start putting this team together to become a championship contender. And that's the season that we need to have because we know they can make the playoffs. But can they win a series? Can they win multiple series? And the only reason why I'm saying that now is because they haven't been able to get out of the first round. They went against the Chicago Bulls, got put out in 6. They fought the Raptors, got put out in 6. There's multiple teams in the East that have multiple all-star caliber players on the roster. Giannis was the only all-star player on this roster, and he just now got on the roster. All-star team this year because he was able to get the most improved player and be an all-star and an all-NBA player. He is one of the bright young stars in the league. He's a great player. He can do multiple things, play make, get to the paint, finish in the paint, rebound, steal, block shots. He damn near an all-around player, but he's just not a shooter yet. So that's one of his biggest flaws, and he's not a great free throw shooter either. But you can't have it all at a young age. You still got to develop. You still got to learn the game. You still got to have your mistakes. You still got to have your learning curve. Just because he's an all-star and just because he's an all-NBA player, he still have things to prove because, like I said, he didn't get out of the first round since he's been in the playoffs. And another thing about it is this team has been together. They keep getting injuries like Chris Middleton, like Jabari Parker. They get major injuries to their stars, and Giannis has been the only one that's been able to maintain good health during these runs of these last couple years. Greg Monroe went from being a starter. Everybody was surprised that he had that they went after him, but he's a guy that can destroy switches. He can score the basketball. He can post up, give him another option if somebody get injured to score a lot of points and fill up the stat sheet, whether he rebounding or posting up or even just getting putbacks. He can make impacts on the game, and he wasn't the starter. They had to find something else, and then they was able to put him on the bench, and he really has worked out. He was one of the better 6-mans off the bench. He had a chance to win it, but Eric Gordon was hot. Well, he was shooting low field goal, but he was hot throughout the whole season. He had the biggest impact out of all the 6-mans, and Lou Williams went to the team, so that took him out of the race. So with that being said, I like the roster. I like what they're doing. I like the veterans. I like Jason Kidd as a coach. Now it's time for them to make that new move. And the East is weaker is the only reason why I'm saying that. With Paul Millsap, Paul George, Jimmy Butler, all of them leaving the East, you know, getting a 6th seed ain't enough because you only really got to worry about Washington, Toronto, Boston, and then the Cavs. So that 5th spot is up for grabs, and they could be better than Washington. They wasn't that far off last year, but I'm not going to really pencil that in because Washington been basically in the playoffs, and they was able to get out of the first round multiple times, and they got 1 and 2 games away from the Eastern Conference Finals, so they made it further than Giannis and his team. And John Wall still don't get the accolades that Giannis gets, but he showed that he can get out of the first round multiple times because he did it. It went against Atlanta and he did it against the Pacers, and he lost both games, but he was one, and then he did it against Boston too. So that's crazy that this team has a lot of success, but they haven't been able to make a big playoff push. And maybe this is the year. They have the defenders. They have the ability to switch everything. They have the defense. They have the motor. They have the effort. They have the energy. Now they have the shooters in Brogdon, in Middleton, in Mizar Teletovic. You have Jason Terry. You have Rashawn Bond. He's a little streaky. But you have the players that can score inside with Giannis. And Jabari Parker likes to post up in the high post and the low post and get some quick baskets and get to the free throw line. Then you have Gary Payton II that likes to get to the paint and finish. Tony Snell is another athletic defender and athletic body that can get to the paint and shoot the spot up three. They have the size. They have the length. They just have to put it all together and make a deep run. And I think if any season that I can see it, this will be the perfect season to do it because you only have to worry about two teams. If you're able to match up good against the Wizards, which they actually do, that's a team that you can actually beat in the second round. And you can match up good, which I thought they could match up good with Toronto, but they just couldn't get over the fourth quarter. They couldn't make enough plays throughout the whole fourth quarter. They had closed the gaps. They made some big plays, but they couldn't finish. And with that being said, they weren't able to close out that series, and they got closed out in 6. They couldn't even force a game 7. I thought that series was gonna go 7, but it ended up going 6. So now is that time. They healthy. They got the chemistry. They know how to play with each other. They haven't made any major changes to the roster. They haven't made any franchise changing moves. They damn near got the same roster. They got the same players. Everybody is mostly under long-term deals, and they got the playoff test for 3 out of the 2 years. And now it's just time to put it all together. And that's all I can say about this team. I got them locked into the playoffs. I got them as a 5th seed, 6th seed, one of the two. But that is disappointing if they become that because they already did it twice. Now it's time for them to have higher goals and higher aspirations. And I want to see what they can do. Like I said, I went to the Toronto Bucks game last year, well this season, because it's not really a full year. But I went there and I liked what I seen. And they gave him a fight. They gave him a battle. Now it's time for Giannis to be that closer. It's time for Chris Middleton to have an all-star caliber season. And it's going to be easier because a lot of all-stars, like I said, left. So it's going to be spots open for him to take. It's time for Jabari to come back healthy and have the same game that he had last season, and stay healthy the whole season. That's something he hasn't been able to do. He's been getting off to good starts, but he hasn't been able to finish the season healthy. And that's something that he's got to focus on. Greg Monroe got to continue to power and inspire and be a veteran leader and continue to power that bench and help them crush the switching teams like Golden State and the teams that go small because he's a beast in the post. And then Brogdon, it's time for him to become a better playmaker and a consistent offensive player throughout the whole season and just get more of a firepower. A fire punch off that bench. And if he starts at the point guard spot or at the guard spot at 2 some games, or if he come off the bench because Chris Middleton, it's time to see him take another step because he had a successful season. He had a decent season, but he can be better. And now I want to see what he's going to do coming off the season, watching some footage, having a couple off season to look at some footage, study what he can do better, how to get better, when to pick his spots. He know how they're going to guard him. He know the scouting reports, and now it's time to add to his game so that way he can have an even better season. So all I can say this year about the Bucks is all about steady improvement, continually to grow with each other, continually to make health a focus, and then have success in the playoffs. They may not be a championship contender. They may not be one of the top 4 teams in the East, but they're almost there. And I feel like they can beat certain teams if they can stay consistent in the fourth quarter and close out the games, and if they can score consistently. They improved on their offense to me, and they do have a go-to player in Giannis that can create shots or get his own shot. So once that all comes together, and Chris Middleton can do it in the post or on off the screens, if that can come together, this team can be a hard team to match up with, and that can work in their favor. And we'll see what happens. I think they can compete with Washington. I think they can compete with Boston. I don't know if they can compete with Cleveland right now, but I don't know if they can beat Boston in a 7-game series either, but I think they can compete with them because I like that matchup, against the Boston Celtics. But they still could lose. Just because it's a good matchup don't mean they're going to win, but it helps their odds of winning. And we'll see what happens. This whole season is just about improving on what they did last year and taking it to another level. And now they starting to know who their point guard is. Now they have tough no players like Giannis, like Matthew Dellavedova, and Jason Terry. We don't know if he's going to come back, but he was a guy that hit some clutch shots and wasn't afraid of the big moment. And they need players like that to step up. And that's something that we got to see from Brogdon, we got to see from Middleton, and we got to continue to see from Giannis. And if they can do that and close out more games, you can see them winning 50 games. They've been able to get to 41, 44 games, but can they win at 50? Can they take that next step and be one of the top 3 seeds instead of one of the top 6? And this is the perfect time to do it. Any injury, any trade that happened, they can climb up the standards just like they did last year, but then they can go higher and maybe they can get a good matchup in the first and second round and get to the Eastern Conference Final and play a Cleveland or play a Boston. And I like their odds against them. Obviously, I still pick against them, but they still will be hard to stop. And if they do make a trade or a move, we have to see how that fits too. But let me know what you guys think about the Bucks. I had them winning 45 to 50 games this year, being the number 3, 4, or 5 seed. I don't see them being in the top 2, but I can see them making a run, early push, and I can see them still closing out the season late because they in the East, and there's going to be a lot of bad teams that they can beat up on and take, you know, days off a little bit, even though you shouldn't do that. But there's going to be a lot of times when they go against multiple bad teams in a row, and that'd be able to give them 4 or 5 wins in a row, and that can help them get to 50 games. That's what I'm saying based off the East. So let me know what you guys think about the Bucks. Let me know if you think they're a playoff team. Is they a contender? Is I'm sleeping on them? Is you sleeping on them? Do you think they're great? Do you think they're going to flop? They got the shooters now, so that's not an excuse. And they got the veterans, and they got player like a Giannis. That's a two-way player. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Queenway Basketball Analysis. Check out my website, analysisplayground.com. It'll be in the link. Will be in the description in the comment section below. Also, like my Facebook page, analysisplayground.com. It'll be in the comment in the description below. All you gotta do is click the link and it sends you to my Facebook page. And all I'm asking you to do is like it to show support. Let me know what you guys want to see next. And I'll see y'all tomorrow.